Despite all the chaos, Marvel Studios brought us the first martial arts hero to the big screen. Of course, we're talking about Shang-Chi, who made his debut in 2021 with a solo movie, sort of a backstory of his, and with a highly possible sequel coming up in the future of the MCU. We're here today to take the first look into things, where the sequel stands, and tell you everything we know about the movie. Introduction. Before we begin with anything, we should also mention that the sequel has not been officially confirmed. There was no announcement for it from Marvel Studios, no panel or anything like that yet. However, we think that the movie is most certainly happening, and we'll tell you why in a bit. As crazy as it might sound, but Shang-Chi was one of the first characters Marvel Studios planned to develop a movie for after the studio took it slow in the mid-2000s. Unfortunately, we had to wait about a decade to see the movie, but we're more than glad we did, and a sequel would just be the right thing for the fans and Shang-Chi himself. With us seeing where his adventure will take him next, the movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings introduced Simu Liu's Shang-Chi in a big way, bridging his story to the core of this franchise, with him being joined by his best friend Katie, played by Awkwafina, his father Wenwu, played by Tony Leung, his sister Meng-Er Zhang's Xia Ling, and his aunt Ying Nan, played by Michelle Yeoh. The movie ended on a high note, which is one more reason for the happening on a sequel in the near future. Nevertheless, the movie culminated with him going to Kamar Taj and potentially being recruited to become an Avenger, just like in the comic book storyline, or put on their radar, an indicator that showed us just how little we know about the character, and that this movie is just the first step of the character, a step which eventually sets up a greater future for the character and everyone around him.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Clev coming at you live on the bus. I actually did take a little bit of martial arts as a youth, so I'm gonna try and grade this fight as we're going.
In development. As we've said before, we're very close to getting confirmation about the movie. You may say, why? Well, despite the unconfirmed movie, in the last couple of days the news came in about the sequel already being in early development, which is always good news. Disney has confirmed it, so there's no denying the fact, a development that also brought the return of director Destin Daniel Cretton after working with Marvel Studios on the first one. After the many struggles, mainly with all the COVID pandemic delays, the September of 2021 was the time when the first movie made its debut. The release of the movie was met with anticipation, and not just because the movie was the next MCU movie, but also because Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was the first Marvel movie to arrive without the dual streaming release. It surpassed all expectations, eventually becoming the highest grossing movie of 2021 on the domestic chart. Shang-Chi is a skilled fighter who's taken back to his home after 10 years he spends in America to be trained to be the perfect assassin. He gets involved in the criminal organization The Ten Rings, which is foretold to have been present for centuries before him, and his father as the leader of the organization. Shang-Chi's past is calling out to him, and he answers the call and gets through the first levels of the quest. Thus, a sequel is inevitable, just like Thanos would say, and just a couple of days later, the idea became a reality. Deadline released a new report which saw Cretton signing a new multi-year overall deal with Marvel Studios. The new deal paved the way for Cretton as it allowed him to work on a sequel and put the whole process in development. Cretton, despite working on the sequel of Shang-Chi, was reported by Kevin Feige that he's also working on a mystery MCU series for Disney+. The post-credit scene of the movie pulled Shang-Chi and Katie into a meeting with Wong, Bruce Banner, and Captain Marvel, and this scene alone made it clear that there's a bigger future for the character in the future of the MCU, with the still not yet confirmed sequel pushing him to pursue new adventures in completely new places. The report itself didn't give any idea as to when the sequel would release, but our educated guess says that it'll be sometime in the late months of 2023. That is, if Marvel and Disney start pushing for the movie, but we would also say that the 2024 would be the year when the movie gets released. The release date of the movie depends solely on how Marvel Studios will prioritize all projects in the works right now, including the likes of Captain America 4 and Fantastic Four, two movies which are still waiting on their official release dates, but which are in line to come out before the sequel of Shang-Chi, which means that when those two get the dates, we'll have a clearer picture about this movie as well. Cast. As for the cast side of things, Simu Lee will of course return to reprise his role as a titular character with the events of the first movie that left him assured of his heroic status. Taking into consideration the post-credit scene at the end of the movie, we should expect Awkwafina to be back as Katie Chen in the sequel as well. Other potential returns could mark Shang-Chi's sister Xu Xiaoling, played by Meng Zhang, for the second time running, along with Florian Montunu's Razor Fist and Ronnie Ching's John by her side. The first movie brought us the debut of Shang-Chi's Aunt Ying Nan, played by Michelle Yeoh, who we should also see make a comeback in the sequel of the franchise, seeing how important she was to him. Other characters for who we're not so sure of coming back, but there's a high possibility are the likes of Wong, portrayed by Benedict Wong, and Sir Ben Kingsley's Trevor Slattery, both of which are supporting characters in the first movie, but with very crucial roles and therefore the laughs bringing a lot of joy to the fans in the most intense moments. The last two actors who might return are Tony Leung and Fala Chen as Wenwu and Ying Li, who are both deceased but maybe in a flashback of some sort, as per usual. Plot. One of the biggest wildcards of the sequel is the story, particularly now when Marvel isn't setting up direct sequels anymore, not with all the projects at least. Instead, one movie may lead into a TV show or vice versa. So according to this, one thing we should tell you is that the sequel might eventually come to be completely disconnected from the first movie, not having anything in common with it in the first place. Keep that in mind. One thing, however, we think will be taking for everyone here is that we need to see more screen time of Ta Lo and the history of Shang-Chi's hidden world in the upcoming sequel. The first movie did a really good job of introducing us to the hidden world, however, there's still so much unanswered regarding it, so learning more about this world might eventually lead us to a more in-depth inspection of Shang-Chi's character, learning more about his powers outside of what the organization has taught him. Beyond that, the next appearance of Shang-Chi will probably be in the upcoming Doctor Strange sequel called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, judging by the post-credit scene. That's before making his full return in the MCU as a mainstay and a character who would go on to become a member of the Avengers at some point. On a related note, tell us down in the comments below what are your initial thoughts about the sequel, and if you could pinpoint one element from the first movie you'd like to see in the second, which one would it be? And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.